Well, here's the nightmarish job that's going to have to be done on this car. The top is open, which is not unusual on these, but this one has a really serious issue in that it is a special coupe, so the rear part here where the window normally is wide open. Originally there was a like a cobra grain material that wrapped all the way around, which really is not available anymore, so I'm going to have to come up with some means of filling in this rear panel with a window in it. And also, originally there was some kind of trim strip that went all the way around here, and all of this with all these holes is going to have to be patched. It's going to be a huge job, far more than but I guess instead of bitching and whining, it's time to start fabricating. Well, I've been working all day trying to fill in this back panel here on the body, and I have cleaned away here. There was a piece that came out and over, took that out on both sides so that we had a perfect square corner here, and then put in a piece of angle iron and then another bigger piece of angle iron, and I cut lines in it so that it could be bent in two ways. It curves this way and it curves this way, and the only way to do that with a piece of steel is to cut little slots in it and then use C-clamps to press it into shape. Okay, so now the steel piece will fit butt up against these, and then I'm going to have to bend the curvature over the top, and then after all that's done, then have to cut out for the back window. Okay, we'll do more videos in the future and keep you up to date. Now I'm going to show you how I bent that 16 gauge steel that I used to make that rear panel for the cab. I've got the piece here that I cut out for the rear window. I didn't make any video of the original bending because, to be honest with you, my hands were full with that great big piece of metal, and I had no idea if this would work or not. But it did. It worked great. So let me show you how I did it. It's actually rather simple. Now, my bending method is absolute Stone Age stuff, okay, but that's kind of what I specialize in. And I looked here and I saw these two pipes on this chain link fence here in my dog run, and it occurred to me, what if I put the metal in between the two pipes and then lean real hard on it and move it forward and backward and keep leaning and pushing, and sure enough I got that great big piece of metal to make a 90-degree curvature. You notice how there's almost no curvature here. I'll tell you, it takes a lot of strength and cussing and determination, but this is how I bent the metal, believe it or not. Well, using two posts in my chain link fence in the backyard, I have bent and shaped the metal with a curvature this way and this way, and then this morning I used the plasma cutter to cut out the opening for the back window. Also, a steel rib was welded in up here to maintain the proper curvature of the top edge here to match the top bows. Then that will be used to cover where the tonneau cover comes over, and it's going to come down and snap along the back here and along the sides here. Okay, I've also made the wooden frame for the glass. Now normally this is steel, but I just don't have the facilities to do that. But this will be mounted inside here, and the glass will then be attached along the back. Now when this is painted to match the steel panel, it's going to look like it's all one piece, and I hope like it is original. Okay, all the dimensions and shapes, curvatures, everything are correct for a 1928 Model A. Now I painted the wood frame with flat black primer, and I've clamped it in place here, and you can see how it's going to blend right in once everything is painted the same color. I'm going to put a silicone seal in between the wood and the metal so that it's waterproof, and there'll be another silicone seal between the wood and the glass. Okay, so I think it looks fairly original. That's my intent here, is to where nobody even notices that this is a special coupe rather than just a regular coupe. Now I'll show you on the inside how that metal panel was attached. It was pressed tightly from behind so that it fit up against those two angle iron pieces that I showed you earlier. Then the angle iron was welded to the steel about every inch or inch and a quarter, all the way around the back and up both sides. Now that way I didn't have to weld the sheet to the car body and cause warps and lumping and things like that. The welds then are on the inside and concealed. Next, here is that framework on the inside that has been welded with its own angle iron at the top and at the bottom, and then the glass has been silicone glued to the wood. As you can see over here from the side, I guess you can see it. And then, because it wasn't real pretty, I masked off the exact shape of the outside window and sprayed everything in here flat black, so that you really don't see what's going on in here. It doesn't draw your attention. Okay, so that's how that panel was attached. You see how it rounds up over the top and how that rib maintains the proper curvature up here where the tonneau cover is going to fit. Also, these rear quarter windows are in place and held in with an original style steel fascia molding that presses the rubber sandwich that is made with a rubber molding that wraps around the safety glass for each of these panels, and then screws into the wood inside the body. Well, that panel is in now, and the glue is pretty well dried on the window frame. And now it's time to address probably the worst problem with this, and that is that this side here of the cab rear is a separate piece from the body. It's almost like this was a roadster, and to make a special coupe they added this top on it. But anyway, as you can see, it's just a jagged mess here with a big open gap with wood back there, which is not a good arrangement. And it flares out, and this comes way out from the side. And as you can see, there's a big gap here. So my way of fixing this is, what I did is to screw in flathead wood screws all along into that oak wood, filling the gap between the upper part here of the rear quarter window and the body of the car. Then I welded across like bridges, okay, so that the screw then filled in the gap so that I could weld the top and bottom, and then I ground it smooth, and now this piece is very securely attached to this piece, and they're in perfect vertical alignment. The rear here was a much bigger problem, however, because the gap was so wide and the alignment was so poor that what I did is to cut about a 3/4 inch wide flat piece of steel, slide it under this upper part, bring it down, and then shape it, grind it, and bend it so that it fills the gap with a perfectly smooth curvature. Now I'm going to go in and spot weld the top to the steel and the bottom to the steel, and then grind it even smoother. I'll back away here so you can see how it's going. This here, this channel will just be filled with a fiberglass reinforced filler. I thought about welding steel into it, but good God, I think that's just making a mountain out of a molehill. So anyway, we'll check this out once I get through with the welding and grinding. Okay, it's all welded, and all of the high spots are ground off, and ground rather roughly so that the fiberglass filler will have something really good to hold on to. Now, what's important if you're going to use filler, and you've got to in something like this, is that there's no motion between the two pieces or it'll crack and come out. So what I had to do here is make this really one piece of metal. Then the filler has a much better chance of staying in place pretty much forever. Speaking of which, let's put some 3M real high quality fiberglass filler on here, and then start sanding and see how it turns out. Alright, here's 2 or 3 layers of the fiberglass filler, and it has been rough sanded into shape. I've started doing these grooves here, but they're not ready for final sanding. Well, I'm going to spray some red oxide primer down here to see where all the imperfections are, so that I can do the final detail work on the filler. Well, it actually came out pretty well. I think you can see there's some imperfections here now that I'll go back and lightly sand, and the beauty of the primer is that any low spots or holes will stay kind of that reddish oxide color, and they're easy to spot. But anyway, that's how it looks at this state of the game. Let's see back here. Looking pretty good, actually. I'm rather pleased. Well, here's the end result after a couple coats of primer and wet sanding, and I think you'll agree that it looks a whole lot better than it did a couple hours ago. Well, I finished the passenger side completely, and before I show it to you, let's have a quick review of how it looked before I started. Okay, here's that ridge along the edge of the top, big crack here, deep channel here with all kinds of holes, another channel coming up this way, down here, then that big separation. This is sticking out about 1/4 inch from here, and all the way around the back. Okay, pretty darn hideous. Now let's go take a look at the... Alright, here's that place with the big open crack along the back and all the way down here, and then that big channel with all the holes in it came all the way around and up to the front. Okay, so I think you have to agree this side looks a little better than the other side. Now it's time to start on the driver's side. Now, in previous views I had either blue or green awning over me so I could have some shade to work in. It was 107 degrees here, and in the sun it's probably 125 or 30, so I had to have that cover. Now this view here is without the cover. We got a little cloud protection going on here, so you can see what this looks like out in the full sunlight, and you see that those hideous channels pretty well concealed. The jagged joint down here between the rear quarter panel metal piece and the body looks actually like there is no joint. That's what I was aiming for. I've molded in the back of the steel piece that was bent back there in the chain link dog run, and here you see the wood frame has been connected with a glazing compound to the metal, so it all looks like one piece and painted to match. And now you've got what looks like a fairly original Model A Coupe rear cab, which is what I wanted. Something that won't draw attention. It looks fairly normal. There's still some more work to be done, but I thought I'd share this with you, and I hope you enjoyed it.